So, welcome back to another episode of Living the Sky Life. Well, you guys have asked repeatedly for my husband Josh to make an appearance. So, I thought, what better way to start the relationship and that series than to have Josh as my first guest for this particular topic. So, welcome to the podcast, honey.
Well, hello, dear. It's nice to see you and hear you.
I know it's so weird. Um, yeah, like I said, the crowd has asked and I'm answering. I think once the book came out and everyone saw what an amazing human you are and read, I mean, what an amazing human you are, everybody wants to hear more about kind of our journey, I guess, in our relationship. So, for those who haven't read the book, I'll just give a really short recap. Josh and I will actually be married 10 years the day that this episode is airing. So it's our 10-year anniversary on the Thursday, the 12th, right?
Happy anniversary, babe.
The anniversary. You said it first. Um, so yeah, and we've been together 13 years actually. And yeah, I was a single mom. And for probably 3 or 4 years, I lost track and was introduced to Josh through a mutual friend. And we dated. And I thought, gosh, this is just too great. Once he meets these crazy kids of mine, he's going to want nothing to do with me anymore. But that was the opposite of what happened. He actually stuck around and asked me to marry him and joined this crazy family and then adopted Skylar in 2018, which is all talked about in the book. So you have to read it. So I think one of the biggest questions, Josh, that I get from people when I'm speaking or, mingling and talking online with people is that it's hard for a lot of people to believe, I guess, that you would meet me and then meet Skylar and Kendall and realize all that's involved in our autism life with Skylar and how profound his needs are, and that you willingly jumped in head first and said, sign me up. I want to be these kids' dad. I want to be your spouse. So what were you thinking with all of that?
Well, I'm going to start with two things. First, to those that listen, thank you because this means the world to Lori. She puts a lot of work and energy and effort and time into this podcast, and it fills her cup. So thank you guys for listening. Second, as with any good marriage, I think it's important to correct one another when we're wrong. And it's actually only been 12 years, babe, not
Oh,
13,
okay. Sorry,
2011.
it feels like 20.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Um, I'll take that as a compliment.
It is.
Um, so to your question, I think, you know, we've talked about this before, but I was at a place before we met. I was not interested in dating or being with anyone that had kids. Um, it was just it was just something that I didn't want to do. Um, I wanted to have a family. I wanted to have children of my own. I'd not been married. Um, uh, and I had, as a child, I had great experiences with my step parents, but I just wasn't sure that I wanted that. I really even wanted to do it. Um, and, and Doc, you know, introduced us. You sent me a message on Facebook that we can't find still to this day.
I know.
Um, but it was no more than 4 or 5 sentences. And I remember laying on my couch reading it and sitting there with my dog. And I don't even remember the words, but I remember the impact that it had on me. And I sat up and I'm like, oh, she's
This chick's
different.
nuts. No.
Well, I remember there was an element of sarcasm and
Of
smartassedness,
course.
which has become the hallmark of of our of our
Our
marriage.
marriage.
Uh, but you know, when I made that decision, I just I just went and I just trusted it.
Hmm.
Um, I can remember too that there was construction on some of the bridges that that were linked between Kentucky and Indiana at the time, and the traffic was miserable. But I can remember after having spent, a month or so with you, then meeting the kids and being in that traffic
Hmm.
after a full day at work, tired, but I was sitting there and I'm like, what am I doing? I hate traffic. I lived in Atlanta for 3 years and I hated traffic. But as much as I hated the traffic, all I thought about was wanting to get to see you and Skylar and Kendall.
Aw.
And that was the moment I'm like, all right, I'm in love.
Mm.
And and that changed everything for me. Because I just knew I wanted to be with you guys. And I didn't care what the situation was. I've told you before, once, maybe twice, but I can remember as a child, as a teenager, hitting golf balls in my front and backyard, like wiffle balls over our house. Never into the house, thankfully. Um, and throwing a baseball into a net that would send it back to me. I can vividly remember thinking that, I don't know if I'll ever have a son or a daughter that I'll play catch with. I don't know that that'll happen.
Hmm.
I might have, gosh, I kind of feel like there's there's a chance I'll have a child with special needs.
Huh.
And I know that. I remember that vividly. And so I really believe God was planting that seed and watering that seed in me for this moment and for our marriage and for Skylar and for Kendall. So uh, once once it hit me, like I was done, and that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to do was be with you guys.
Well, I remember, and I talk about this in the book a little bit. I remember inviting you over for dinner when I had the kids. And then I almost canceled because I liked you so much. I was so afraid that it's one thing to talk about autism and all of the needs that there are. And, and they were little at the time. And I just thought, God, he's going to be so overwhelmed when he sees this in person, when he actually sees Skylar and he sees that I have to change his pull up and just all of these things that you're going to be like, oh, this is a lot more than I envisioned. And of course, the kids had a way of making this, sealing this fate pretty much too. And as I said, I describe it in the book, but I mean, seeing Skylar, who goes to no one usually, grab your hand and, take you down to the basement to where his toys were and to show you around. I mean, and even now you guys have that relationship. Chooses you, he prefers you if it's between you and me. So I think that did it for me. I'm like, oh my God, like now I can't remove this guy from their lives because they love him. So that was cute. I'm sure you didn't expect that for Skylar to just cling to you like that.
Um, I don't know that I ever had any expectations,
Hmm.
if I'm being honest. And for me, it honestly just felt natural
Hmm.
from the get go. Um, he's my buddy, became my buddy, and he's still my buddy. He's my shadow, right? That's what
Uh-huh.
we joke everywhere I go. There's Skylar.
Uh-huh.
So uh, it was just it was so easy. That's the only word I can
It
put
was
to it.
easy for you too.
It was
It's
just
weird.
natural, and like I never had a second thought.
Hmm.
I can tell you, I never sat there and thought, man, this is a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this. She's cool, but man, the kids are a lot. Like you wanted to have your own kids. You never
Hmm.
wanted to date somebody, you know, with kids. Like you didn't want to do this. Literally, like I had those thoughts before, but then once I met you and once I met the kids,
Hmm.
it never ever crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And it was just like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is where God wants me, and this is where and I want to be here.
And I loved that. I mean, we had these conversations before we got engaged, before we got married, obviously, about a future family having more kids together and things like that. And we kind of left that in God's hands. And I tease you because my dad's a triplet, and so like I'm like one could be three, and then we could have five kids all of a sudden. But one of the things I appreciated the most as a mom and as a woman too is that you always said, listen, if it happens, it happens, but these kids are my kids. I never look at them as step kids. We've always only said bonus kids too before you adopted Skylar, but um it took a lot of pressure off me because I wanted you to have, your own biological kids as well, and I just wasn't able to give that to you or whatever. But seeing the bond that you have with both Skylar and Kendall, we are a family. It doesn't matter biologically who is whose and all of that. So that's always meant a lot to me because I knew your stance originally. You told me, years later that you weren't sure you wanted to be a step parent, and but you've never treated them, nor have we ever kind of had that label on us at all.
Well, the memory this brings up is sitting at lunch with Heather, my old boss, who's a great friend of both of ours to this day. And she said, Josh, Lori, and the kids are lucky to have you. And I remember not missing a beat and saying, actually, I'm the lucky one. Everything I've done. So, as much as I try to give and want to give and love to give, it's because you guys have given me everything I've ever hoped and dreamed for.
That's so sweet. Well, let's take put a pin in that, because I think in the beginning, I'm sure I wasn't that easy to live with. We were joking about this on the walk tonight. I admittedly am a control freak. I say that on many episodes. I kind of joke about it. I just always like things orderly, and I don't like anything to get missed. So when it comes to medication refills and when they need new clothes and all the things, when I was single, I always got 2 pill bottles at the pharmacy for their dad's house. And I got 2 sets of clothes because he didn't know what size they were. And I just have always done everything. So when you came in the picture and when we got engaged and we started living together, I was not used to anybody willingly helping me, because even when I was married before, I did everything myself. So I really struggled with delegation, and I really struggled with letting you do anything. And I recognize it now. And a few years later I did, but I didn't see that as detrimental to you and your relationship with the kids. And I should have, because I was kind of blocking your ability to bond with them a little bit faster. And I know just from, in our marriage, we've talked about love languages and just different things. And I know that yours is like acts of service, and mine is words of affirmation and all of those things. And you were trying to do acts of service. You were trying to say, hey, I'll make his dinner, or I'll feed him, or I'll do this with Kendall or whatever. And I'm like, no, I got it. I'll do it. I don't know if it's because I was afraid that you would think that I married you. Now, all of a sudden I can like take a deep breath and push all this stuff on you. I didn't want you to think that I needed you. I wanted you in the family, and I wanted you to be my husband and all of that, but not because I wanted to give some of the responsibilities of caring for Skylar and Kendall to you. So I really wrestled with that. So how did you, if you remember kind of back then, how did you finally break through, I guess, to me and say, can you please just let me to do some of this stuff? Because I feel like I'm doing nothing. And then I'm sure you felt like you weren't helping at all. So it was just kind of an awkward beginning as far as task delegation goes.
Yeah, when we met, the kids were I think 6 and 8. And so like you had done pretty much everything for them for their lives.
Yeah.
And that was definitely magnified in the case when you were a single mom. And so I recognize that.
Hmm.
I also recognized, and this is one of the things that I love about you, is that you're an alpha. Like
Very much
there
so.
are certain elements and times in my life where I'm an alpha, but I'm also okay, like just taking a back seat or being the Robin to your Batman. Um, so I recognized how much you had done, and whether you recognize it or not, like, I was really proud of you for doing those things. So I wasn't in any rush to take stuff away, but I wanted to earn your trust and show you that, hey, like I can make dinner and the house won't burn down, or I can take care of Skylar if you and Kendall are out, and like neither one of us end up with a broken bone or black eyes or the house burning down.
Hmm.
And so, I just wanted to try and go at your pace. And over time, I think you saw that I'm not a complete and utter idiot. Uh, I'm still an idiot and a dillhead,
Mm.
and I own that, and that's okay. Uh, but it opened up, I think, more trust between us,
Hmm.
and we've gone through thick and thin. We've been drugged through literally the poo, uh,
Poor buddy.
but but I think that's an important part of our foundation that's
Hmm.
helped us get through that together. So, um, yeah, I didn't necessarily want to rush or push anything.
Hmm.
Just wanted to make sure you, and especially Skylar and Kendall, were comfortable with it too.
Hmm.
I didn't want to freak them out and then be like, "Who the heck's this guy?"
Hmm.
Like it had to be more organic and natural.
Yeah. And I think it's evolved every year, even more so that because, now like with Skylar needing his face shaved and stuff like that, I mean, I am so fortunate that you're around because I wouldn't know the first thing about doing that. I'm sure I would figure it out if I was by myself, but it's nice that he chooses you. He wants to do that with you. And there are several things that he prefers that you do with him. And that's been hard for me. I mean, I've openly talked about that too. That's been a struggle when he doesn't choose me because I'm like, hey, I've done all this stuff for you all these years and you're picking Josh over me, but it's
Just because
not
I'm
that.
taller.
I know it
Just
is
because
because
I'm
you're
taller.
taller. He has to look down on me and he looks up at you. It's the difference. But I mean, now I feel like we have our own really good routine. Skylar's kind of forced us into a routine. And, whoever showers him first thing in the morning, the other parent showers him at night if we're both here. So if you shower in the morning, I do breakfast and then we flip flop and you do dinner and I do the shower at night. And just, I don't know, all of those things that's really helped with us not burning out. And I do realize that over time, the more you kept kind of inserting yourself and saying, "Hey, listen, you go do that. Take a break for a second. I got this. I can do this." And I was finally giving up control. It actually did feel good to me, finally, to have somebody who wants to help. And it was a nice break. And so, the more we've done that, I think I'm much more comfortable now of saying, "Hey, can you do this?" You don't even have to ask anymore. I ask you, like, you go do that. I don't want to.
Well,
So
look, hey, the house is still standing. Like, haven't
I
burned it
know.
down.
I
But
know.
I think that the important part that we recognize there is, like, in all honesty, what we're what we're doing, like it's not the easiest thing in the world.
Hmm.
It's hard.
It's
Um,
24/7 hard.
right. It's mentally challenging. And as we get older, like it's becoming physically more challenging. Um, Getting up off of a knee, I've grown a lot more than I
Uh-huh.
used to.
You do.
So yeah, I'm old. Um, but like we have to do that. And I think that we were put together for that reason, so that we can balance one another out and be the best that we can be for both kids
Hmm.
when they need us to be our best. Um, I can't imagine if these last 12 years that you were still a single mom.
Me
Um,
either, dude.
that's challenging.
Uh-huh.
I know that you would do it and you would thrive. And there's single moms and single dads out there that are doing it. And man,
Hmm.
like, I don't know you, but God, you're doing an incredible job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anybody's telling you, but you are. So have faith. Um, and if nobody's telling you thanks, like we will, because we
Hmm.
know. And so like that part's really, really important for our marriage and for the kids is that we balance one another out. And if we have to take, a little time out because, hey man, I've been in it, like I need a break,
Hmm.
the other one steps in. And that's really good. And like, look, our jobs require that too. Um, you travel for work sometimes. I travel for work frequently,
Hmm.
and we 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 have to do that. And it's worked out pretty good so far. So, at a
Well,
babe.
and the tapping out part, like that's something that we I mean, that's kind of a more recent thing too. I feel like we got to things were, humming along pretty well. And then we got to a place where I think we were both frustrated because it felt like we were both consumed with caring for Skylar. I think it was around, kind of getting his Crohn's diagnosis. It just seemed like everything was stockpiling emotionally and physically. We were just spent. And I know I get snappy when I'm overtired, which a lot of us autism parents are extremely sleep deprived. Um, and that plays on it. And then, just having to change his sheets every single morning. One of us has to do it. And just all of the like chores and stuff, it builds up. And when you start an entire Saturday and Sunday at 6 a.m. or like the other day, 2:30 in the morning when he woke up, um, it's a really long day. And I never wanted to check out. I just felt like I had to play my part and do my 50% and be there. But like you said, some days I don't have the patience. They're probably because I'm overtired and it's catching up to me. I don't know what it is, but there's just certain days I can't do it. I need to just go somewhere. And I never wanted to ask because I feel guilty. I feel so guilty. Even when you've said, why don't you go get a hotel and stay the night? Like go off by yourself and, just take a night or whatever. And I'm like, I can't do that because I would sit at the hotel the entire time and feel like a terrible mom for checking out. But I recognize that we we both need a checkout point. So I guess what I'm getting at is I think you brought it up once. You said, listen, like both of us use our facial expressions around Skylar when we don't want to say something that might be offensive to him or hurt his feelings or something. So like if I give you the look, I need a break. Like I just need to tap out. I don't need to say anything to you. I don't need you to, say anything questions or whatever. I just need 5 minutes. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. And I'm like, okay. So we kind of implemented like a little communication plan that way with non-communication so that we could just signal to each other because I didn't want to snap at you and and when you get upset, I take it personally and I think it's all about me. And you're like, it's not you at all. And then you get more mad when I keep asking you what I did. So, I mean, do you think that's helped a lot?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, going back to that time with that diagnosis, I think the stress was high because we saw the impact that it was having on Skylar, but we didn't know why. In the absence of words, in the absence of, clear communication at that point, it was really hard. It weighed on both of us because you don't ever want to see your child in pain or discomfort or anything
Hmm.
negative. And so that added stress, weighed heavily on both of us. And I think it it was so important for us to recognize that and then recognize like we've got to work together here for each other and for Skylar and for Kendall. if we don't, like, this is going to go down the drain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it was as simple as making that decision of, hey, like, when it's the look,
Mm-hmm.
like, let's jump in. Let's jump
Yeah.
in. No matter what's happening, let's jump in. And I think that's been really good for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We obviously had to have the conversation and 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 talk about the why first. But once once we were on the same page with it, again, I hate to keep going back to this word, but for me, like, it's been really easy. It's been an easy choice to make.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. I don't think people use Lori and easy ever in the same sentence. So that's pretty good. I I'm just not easygoing. I mean, I try to be, but I'm high stress a lot of the time. It's the controlling person coming out of me.
And that's the opposite of me.
Right.
I,
You're more patient than I am. I mean,
I'm pretty laid back.
obvious. Yeah, I'm
Like,
funnier though, but we'll agree to
uh,
disagree.
that's all right. I'm smarter, better looking, and everything else.
Yeah, that's true. Um, I think the other thing too that I get asked a lot about just on other podcasts or just from other parents or moms specifically, they always ask about self-care and we talk about taking time for self-care and all of that. And that means different things to different people. Some people see that as exercise. Some people see that as going and getting your nails done, whatever it is, or even just taking 5 minutes to walk around the block or take a nap or sit in your car by yourself just to get away from the house and your situation. And I know for you and I, part of us meeting, we met with a mutual friend because we were both distance runners at the time, and you more know than me. But and so exercise and running and just keeping our body healthy has helped keep our minds healthy, and that's something that we both are adamant that we have to have. And so we've gone through several versions of how to make that happen for each of us, because I agree you need as much time out and self-care as I do. Just being a mom doesn't, gift me the time out that you don't get. So I think, what did we start with first? It was like getting our calendars out. I mean, I know that sounds like ridiculous to probably people listening, but with our jobs and like who's gonna we get our calendars out every Sunday, and we go through the week of who's gonna take Skylar to school and who's gonna pick him up at 8 and at 4, because some days you have an overnight with work, or some days, I have a phone call with work at 3:30 and I can't pick him up. So anyway, we go through all of that. And then we started like figuring out our workouts, and we were doing them separately. Like, you're like, well, if you can take him this day, then I'll go run. And then, right? Isn't that how we started?
Yeah, I think going back to the first thing you said here, the importance of taking that time, finding that time,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is huge. For me, like, even before we met, running brought me so much peace. Like, I was one of those, I guess, freaks that would run with no music, no
Yeah,
earphones.
you
And
never really have. Yeah.
like, we still had the wires on our earphones. So, like, it was just clunky and I didn't like to do it. And that hour that I would have running, like, it would just be like my mind could go anywhere. I could think about work. And as I started running, I was starting a new job, and it allowed me to just roll through scenarios that I
Mm-hmm.
might encounter. And uh, it allowed me to just think, and it became really important. And uh, when we met, knowing that you understood that was important to me,
Mm-hmm.
because it, we knew that that was going to be a part of our marriage, our relationship. And yes, like, we've gotten the calendars out even more recently, but before we started doing that, it was like, hey, when are you going to work out? When are you going to work
I
out? When do you
know.
want to run? When do you want to run? Because, like, we both need that. And um you know,
I
just,
can tell when I don't get it. And
oh,
same with you.
absolutely.
I mean, you
Yeah.
even said like when I was training for that half marathon earlier this year, you're like, you're don't take this the wrong way, but your mood is just better. Like you just seem like you're lighter and you're just, I'm like, I am because I can run my stress off a little bit. And I come
Yes.
back recharged and ready to deal. If Skylar smacks me, I'm like, buddy, instead of being
Yep.
like, if you hit me one more time, I swear to
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. And I think,
God.
we've like, it's been a morning thing for me.
Mhm.
Um, my God, I laughed the other day, Saturday morning. I woke up at 4:50 and I was awake. It's
Yeah.
because we've been doing this
Yeah.
in the mornings now. But yeah, like then we graduated to the calendars and we figured it out morning before anybody's up, afternoon, evening. Um, we've bought some stuff to be able to do stuff at home as opposed to
Yeah.
go to the gym too, which I think is really cool and helpful. Um,
Yep.
uh, and now, like honestly, my favorite part is that we're getting up first thing in the morning
Yeah.
together at 5. Um, even though there's a dog that really wants to snuggle and she's
And she
awesome.
goes back to bed and it's like, I mean,
Yes.
seriously.
Uh,
No, I think
uh,
that's been my favorite thing
it's
too.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Now that
I
Kendall
love
is at
doing that.
college, we've evolved to our schedule.
Right.
The good thing for us, I mean, the one blessing with Skylar that I know a lot of parents are going to probably cringe because they're still waiting. And trust me, it's taken us a long time to get to this point. He consistently sleeps now a very set schedule. He kind of made the schedule. He is nodding off like a little old man at between 6 and 6:30. If he is not in bed at night, by then I mean, he'll just fall asleep in his stroller on the couch or wherever he is. So he goes to bed and he usually, even though he leaks, he sleeps through it, which is crazy. He usually sleeps in until at least 6:30. So it's a good 12 hours that he gets. I mean, again, this was not our life for a long time. This is more when he's kind of become an adult. He's just regulated and he needs his sleep because he's a
He's on the
man. I
move.
don't know.
He's
Yeah, and
yeah,
he never
he's on the move.
sits.
He
That's true.
goes
Yeah.
all day long.
So we have been for the past month or so, we've been setting our alarm. We get up at 5 and I love that we both do it because there's been days where I'm like, I can't today. I am so tired. Like the morning he got up at 2:30, we both were like, nope.
Yep.
And but it affected me later in the day though. I was exhausted and I was bummed because I didn't get to work out some of that exhaustion or whatever. So
Hmm.
anywho, that's just what's worked for us. And I just encourage people to whatever it is that you need to speak up about what it is that you need. If, like I said, if you need a nap, if you need 10 minutes to take a power nap, if you don't have respite like we don't, and you do have a partner in the house, you need to tell them. You need to be open and tell them because we didn't communicate that for a while and we were both kind of miserable and didn't really realize how important mentally these workouts were for us. So
No question. No
that's kind of
question.
been
It
our
is.
thing.
Yeah. It like you said, when we don't do it, we notice it later in the day,
Mhm.
and it's weighing on you because you want to do it, and we get to do it. It's not that we have to do it; we get to do it, and we know the value that it brings.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And if he wakes up, he wakes up and we just cut the workout short and just
Yeah.
take care of him or whatever. It's not that big a deal. So if you had to define our marriage in like 3 words, like I know what I would say. What would you how would you kind of define it? Um
You go. You've got your 3 words. You put thought into it. You put me on the spot.
well, I just think that like I try to focus on 3 things so that I'm not overly stressed out with our life. Our life is not quote unquote normal like a lot of our friends, and we talk about it all the time. I think one of the things that has made our marriage fun, and I mean, it really has been a lot of fun and for the 10 years that we've been married is laughter. We laugh about everything. And I think you said it in the beginning that we have a very, very similar sense of humor. Our quick wit is the same. I mean, we both try to make Skylar laugh harder than the other one, but the sarcasm, just all the things mesh uh so well. So when we have situations like our weekend cleanouts that we have to do with
Mhm.
Skylar when he has, impacted stool or whatever, we just, I mean, it's just fun. I don't know, we just make jokes about stuff, and I feel like even in those situations, when Skylar sees us laughing, we're not laughing at him and he knows that, like, we're including him in the humor and, like, in the joking around and saying funny things and being silly with him. I think it takes the pressure off of him of what's happening. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I think those cleanouts can be really stressful and it hurts him and he's going through all that. So I feel like we're a really good set of clowns for a distraction, for him. So I don't know. That's one of my words.
I would agree. And I mean, life, regardless of the situation, is hard. Everybody's got their stuff. Promised I'd try to not swear. So I
This is
think
a
I'm gonna
clean,
do
this
that.
is a clean show, Josh.
So everybody's got their stuff. Like our stuff is our stuff, and it's no better, no worse than anybody else.
Right.
But like laughter's huge. We got to be able to laugh, and
Hmm.
and we're setting the tone for both kids. And if they can see us laugh
Hmm.
in the hard times and find the the strength or the will to not be just destroyed by challenges, but to like pick ourselves up and to laugh and to deal with it and move on. Like we set the tone for them.
Hmm.
So and quite honestly, like, and I've told you this, I tell Skylar every morning when I take him to school about his superpower. It's that he has the best laugh and smile.
He
Like
does.
when he laughs and smiles,
And cries because he's laughing so
yes,
hard and
it makes
snorts.
everybody just laugh and smile. Like
Yeah.
it's so awesome.
Uh-huh.
So like let's model that for him. Let's give him every reason to laugh and smile.
Hmm.
And whether that's funny noises, loud noises, the same repetitive words that we might get
Yeah.
him giggling over,
Yep.
like I'm all for it because that's
Hmm.
fun. That's fun. It's fun for
Hmm.
me. And
Yeah.
I mean, it just, I
It
guess it
makes
takes some of the
it makes
weight
a
off.
poo clean out fun, Josh. That's what we're saying.
That is right.
You have to
And
do that. You might as well laugh
I would no, I will say this, going back to what we talked about at the beginning when we met, like I, I-
You
I've
would never
never,
change a diaper. I
I've never
know.
changed a diaper.
And he was
And
still in diapers then because he was
pull
little.
up, the first pull up I ever changed was that of an 8-year old. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have the comparison, but I got to think the 8-year old poo's a little different than 8-month old poo.
I don't know. It
Um,
depends if they have blowout or not.
well, that's true.
That's
But
pretty
I
nasty.
remember thinking that, changing him for the first time. And that was one of those moments where I just had to laugh.
Yeah.
No, I don't want this on my hand or on my person or anything like that. Like it's gotta like we're staying clean here. But
Think
gosh,
about
if it
where
gets
you
on
are
me,
now. And we start
right.
laughing about that
Oh
because
my God.
now it's 20-year-old,
Yes.
you know, fecal
Man poo.
material. And you're like,
Yes.
damn it. And you're like, well, it's on my hand again. And like, I mean,
Yes.
and you
Then
think one
well,
of
I'm
us would be
changing these
smart. I know.
pants, changing this shirt. Guess I didn't want to wear it today.
You would think by 20 years, one of us would be smart enough we have 2 boxes of gloves and neither of us, because it happens so fast, we just change it. We just get right to it. I don't even
Yeah.
think to put a glove on and take the time. I'm just like, it's fine.
Props to the
I just
nurses and the doctors out there that can put on rubber gloves fast. Like I
like,
can't. So I just
yeah,
get poo on my hands.
yeah. Oh, I think my other 2 words, we talked about communication already. Communication is huge and compromise, I think, is the other one. And you know this well because my second book is in its editing phase right now that you guys hopefully will all read when it comes out. But the second book is about my childhood and just my own experiences that I have brought into parenting and into motherhood and marriage and all of those things from what I learned. And we all come from somewhere. I mean, we all have childhood baggage or things that we bring into a relationship. And I think for me, communication and compromise were 2 things I never learned growing up, like in my household. So it's been a real stretch for me to really kind of get out of my comfort zone and to communicate to you when I'm uncomfortable or when I'm stressed out or when just whatever it is. I just never wanted to appear that I didn't have my shit together, that I wasn't in control all the time. and let my guard down, and that's been really hard. But in doing so, it's been such a blessing because there are so many things that we do now with Skylar and Kendall both that I wouldn't have been willing to try, except you kind of pushed me into it, like taking him to restaurants. I just am like, oh, but he's gonna throw this and I just don't know that I want to do it. And you're like, well, let's just try it. And if it goes bad, we'll leave and we'll wait and then we'll try it again another time. Walking at the park by yourself with him, walking at the mall, all those were your ideas initially. And he loves them all. And so I had to compromise too and say, okay, I'm going to let you be a dad. I'm going to let you take over and I'm going to step back and then just wait. So I don't know. Hopefully you think that I've gotten better at those things, but
Oh, for sure, for sure. And when you like you touched on your childhood and what you lived in, what you learned, what you didn't learn, um, and how you're learning that now. Like it's awesome. I think like the compromise part, it's not that it's not like I had any grandiose plan for what I wanted my life to look like, but there were moments, I guess, that I had the realization that it it may look a little bit different than what I may have thought about as a kid or young adult or an older adult. Um, it may look a little bit different than what is considered air quotes normal.
mhm.
But gosh, like I wouldn't trade it. Like this is yes, it's hard. Again, everybody has hard stuff, but I love this. I love you. I love the kids. Like this is just it's awesome. And the other word that I would throw in there, now that you gave me some time to think about it, is teamwork.
Yeah.
I think that's an important part of what we do because, like we talked about, like we give the look if it's time to switch. Um, but the teamwork, like with
Mhm.
my travel for work or yours, or when you and Kendall went to Australia to see Beth. Um, uh, every year I get to go down to Mule Fest with my buddies, and like that doesn't happen without teamwork
Mhm.
because the weekends are arguably the hardest and most challenging because it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Mhm.
nonstop.
Mhm.
And if you're flying solo, like there is no tapping out. And so to do that, like our teamwork is solid. Like I'm
Yeah,
fist
I would
pumping
agree.
from down here. It's awesome. Like we can't do this without one another, and I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
Aw, that's so nice. Yeah, I still owe you for Australia. That was that was a tough 11, 12 days. Oh god. And it was in the winter, December, so like you couldn't
Hey,
just
we had
like
mall walking. Yeah,
yeah,
we were
that's
hanging out
true.
with our
That's when
with our with our buddies.
you really like invested in the mall walking then, that's right. Yeah, I know I agree on all those things. I think there's just all of it I think comes down to communication and being transparent. And if you're not openly discussing things all the time. I mean, part of our teamwork and part of our compromise and communication, all of them linked together and shit, really laughter, is all in the last year plus we've been talking about next steps, like what our life is going to look like, what Skylar's life is going to look like, because he's only a year and a half from aging out of services. And that's what I just finished the series on temporarily, and I'm going to probably go back to it. But um, that we have to talk about our life, like what does it look like for us next, and that's a tough conversation. And I want our marriage to continue to flourish and grow in our relationship, and I want to make sure Skylar's taken care of, as do you. So this is the point where I think a lot of marriages can be under a significant amount of stress because of the unknown of our adult child, like what's going to happen with them. And I don't want that to happen. If he does live with us until we are 90, so be it. We'll figure it out, but I want to figure it
Lucky
out
him. He's
together.
going to have a hell of a time with us.
He's gonna party with the old people. He's
Heck
gonna
yeah.
have to. We're gonna have to trade up and change each other's depends and stuff because I'm not gonna be able to like. I'm not gonna be able to do his and my own. So anyway, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hope that we can continue moving forward, even in a better place than we already are, because
Yeah.
that's going to be a really stressful time. I've already alluded to, I don't want to resent you if I have to quit my job and stay with him every day. It's going to be a Saturday, and we'll get there. We'll figure it out together. But that's when we need our teamwork the most.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And we talk about this often, and I really believe in the man upstairs, and I think our faith is will be tested, but I think it will also be rewarded. Um, I don't know how that will look,
Hmm.
but I just believe that we'll find the right thing for Skylar. We'll find the right thing for us, and I believe that because I have faith, but I also believe in it because I have faith in you. And like I talked about, like you're the alpha. Like I know you're going to find stuff,
So are
and
you.
right. And so that's where like I'll get to be an alpha, and we'll our teamwork will help us find that whatever it is and
Hmm.
whenever it is. Um, so I've got faith, but in real talk too, like I'm stressed,
Hmm.
but it's okay because I believe.
Well, that's sweet. Well, last question. Unless you want to add more things, but I I'm just curious, you've been a parent technically for 10 years, I guess you could say, maybe 12. We'll go with your 12. Um, but I'm just curious what parenting Skylar and Kendall, I keep saying and Kendall because I want to leave her out, but what that has taught you about yourself. I mean, I've had 20 years with him and 18 with her, but you've lived through a lot of or parented through a lot of cycles with them. You've been through all the teen, the preteen, now the adult stuff with Skylar. And I just wonder if you've ever thought about in hindsight, like what this
Mhm.
10 years of marriage has taught you about yourself in parenting these two particular young people.
You and I laugh about uh, meeting the me before we met. Um, if you've never shared it, I'll share it here. I used to drink. I've been sober for it'll be 15 years this December, um, and I was not a great drinker.
I mean,
Um,
you were a social drinker, but you just didn't know when to stop when you were
right,
partying with people.
right, and
Right. I want
I
people
say
to
I
think
wasn't a
you
good.
were.
I say I wasn't a good drinker because I just like I wasn't happy with the person that I became and the decisions that I made. And fortunately, um, I was able to get the help that I needed and wanted. And like it's been completely different since then. So with that, it that opened. I 100% believe that that opened the door to being able to meet you and the kids. Because if I was still drinking alcohol, like I just you wouldn't have even given me the chance to meet the kids. Um, but I've learned that it is not my natural tendency to be a patient person. Um, and now I feel like that's one of my biggest strengths.
It is.
The
And you
kids
need it.
taught me
Yeah.
that, and I'm grateful for it. They've taught me so much about different perspectives. Communicating with Skylar is very different than communicating with Kendall. And it's taught me to think about my approach with each child individually.
Hmm.
Um, and man, I've made some mistakes early on. Who am I kidding? I still make mistakes.
So am
Um,
I.
but I feel like I've learned how to be a better communicator because of them. And the last thing I'll say that both of them have taught me is unconditional love,
Mhm.
because each one of them has gone through some really unique challenges of their own,
Mhm.
and they're good people. And I've failed them at different times, and Skylar still loves me. I've failed Kendall, and she still loves me. And it would be really easy for them, because I'm not their biological dad. It would be really easy for them to just be like, "Who's this schmuck?" Like, hell no, I'm done with him after he just failed me. But they've shown me grace and love, and that has just filled and overflowed my cup. So I'm grateful for them for those things.
Well, I think they're grateful for you just being you and not trying to be something that you're not, or trying to fill this void that they have or whatever. I mean, Kendall can speak openly and has, and I mean, you're more of a dad to her than she's ever had. So that's why I'm a huge believer in never putting labels on anyone, because you are their dad. I mean, you're actually Skylar's dad. I mean, he is your son, he has your name. And but Kendall feels the same way. And they wouldn't feel that way if you were just kind of like off in the distance and not really participating. I mean, you're her biggest cheerleader when she would dance at competitions. You go above and beyond for both kids, and we are grateful for you. So, I mean, we're the blessed ones. I don't care what you
Nope,
say.
nope, I
We're
am.
blessed. No, I
No, I
am.
am. I am.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you for being on here. I mean, like I said in the beginning, people have asked and asked and asked, and yes, people, I get this question all the time. Yes, Josh has two brothers, but they are both married with children, happily married with children. And so sorry, but honestly, I mean, people also ask me all the time, like, how did you date? How did you do all of these things? You just figure it out. I mean, like, if it's somebody worth your time and that is good to you and good to your kids, then you find a way and you figure it out. But the first thing I said to you when we met for lunch, our very first meeting, I said I'm a package deal with these two kids. So if you flinch at all, and I watched you when I was telling you about Skylar, and I'm like, if there's any flinch in his face or he hesitates at all, I'm not moving forward with this, because I cannot have anybody that's not 100% in. And you, my love, are like 1,000% in, and it's been an incredible 10 years. So
Well, you chose to ask me that at the right time, because I had pancakes and bacon in front of me, and so I was
I
really
know,
happy and
who
in a good
orders
spot.
lunch, breakfast food and lunch on a date? You.
Me, when you
No.
love pancakes and bacon, you get it any time of day. It's never the wrong
No.
thing.
No, it's fine. So, anyway, any
Thank you
parting
for having me.
words? Yeah. Anything else you
Oh,
wanna say? No.
I, I love you, babe. It's
Yeah.
fun. Happy anniversary again.
Well,
Uh,
thanks. This doesn't count, though. We still have to actually get each other something.
that's
So,
that's that's fair. I'm prepared. I already got it.
uh,
I don't want to make you feel bad and tell you I've had it for a couple months, but
oh, okay.
uh, um,
Crap.
uh, I would close with this. You said you were the funny one, but I'm actually the funny one, and uh,
False.
I was the one who did not cuss on this podcast, and you cussed twice.
I mean, I
So
do. We know I have a trucker mouth. I can't totally avoid it, but
no, thank
anywho.
you, thank you, thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye.